1 o'clock news from the BBC with Martin Lewis.
Good afternoon to you. Earlier on today, apparently a woman rang the BBC and said she heard that there was a hurricane on the way. Well, if you're watching, don't worry, there isn't. Don't worry, there isn't.
Southern Britain is clearing up after the worst night of storms since records began almost 300 years ago. Most of those killed were hit by trees and buildings blown down in the early hours of the morning. In London, the wind reached 94 miles an hour, with gusts of up to 110 miles an hour in the Channel Islands. The south coast was worst affected. In Kent, 5 people died, 2 of them seen.
Yikes. How are we all doing? Even after we're all laughing at news reports of people dying. But okay, that's fine. Yeah. See, I fooled you, didn't I? No, right, okay. Here's the truth, people. Everybody fails sooner or later. Everyone gets it wrong sooner or later. And we all have those moments where we look back on the things that we did and we go, oh no. And you just kind of, like it was years ago, but you still want the ground to open up and swallow you because you just can't face the memory of it. You know what it's like, right? Right? Yeah, come on. And we all know what it's like for there to be a storm coming. And sometimes we know it's coming. And sometimes we don't. Yeah, no matter what you believe, you're facing the same storms as the rest of us. And as I've been saying for the last few weeks, no matter what you believe, we all face the same problems in life. Our problems are universal. The good news is the solutions are universal as well. And it just so happens that all the best solutions are found where? Yeah, if you want to know the answers to life, the universe, and everything, then you got to go and look where it is. And whoever said 42 points, there's one cool person in the room. I like that. Right, okay. All right. So we've been looking at what is written about 2 particular people called? There you go, David and Goliath. And we've been looking at this story. And instead of just reading it, because you can read this story in 60 seconds, and then it's over, right? And we all know how the story goes, and we all know how the story ends, am I right? We know this one, yeah, okay, but here's the thing. If you slow down and you really look at it and you really study it, like every other story in the Bible, there's amazing lessons to be learned in there. And this is what we've been learning from David so far. Everybody say it with me. No, I can't succeed at everything, but yes, I can believe. Listen, there's all kinds of things that David could not succeed at. He couldn't become bigger. He couldn't become more skillful. He couldn't become stronger. There's all kinds of things he couldn't do. But he still believed that he could overcome this giant, even so. Y'all with it? Yeah, we remember this one. And what did we find in week 2? It was that, no, I can't stop my emotions. You are designed to be an emotional person, and that's okay. You're allowed to have them. You're supposed to have them. You're designed to have them. And I think it's awesome. Unfortunately, you can't switch them off, even when you want to. So, no, it's always the reality check first, isn't it? I can't stop my emotions. But that's not the end of the sentence, is it? Say, yes, I can. Say, yes, I can. Like you mean it. Come on, say it with me. Yes, I can make friends with them because your emotions are your best friends. They are giant killers unless you let them run amok, and then they're just killer giants that you've got to face before you even face whatever it is that's out there, right? But no, you can make friends with your emotions just like David made friends with his. He used his anger to push him into action when none of the other Israelites would. And then he didn't go running headlong into the situation and die because he became wise. Something made him stop and say, hang on, how do we take him on and still live? And what was that voice in his head? What was the voice? What was it? Wow. This was literally last week, people. Fear, yes, because here's the thing, folks. No, I can't be fearless. That's your reality check that secretly sets you free. Don't beat yourself up for being fearless because fearlessness is just stupidity. It's just not recognizing the danger. No, fear is the voice that says, hang on, be wise, listen to it. It's why you've never been run over by a bus. Okay? Fear is a good thing. You are designed to have fear, but not to be a slave to fear. And that's where it gets out of control. Sooner or later, you've got to listen to it, like David did, drop the sword, pick up the slingshot, defeat the giant from very far away. groovy. That was his fear that told him to do that, but his fear didn't hold him on the mountain with all the other Israelites because he overcame his fear. And what is it called when you overcome your fear? That would be bravery. You can't be brave without fear because fear is something that you overcome to be brave. So, reality check. No, I can't be fearless, but that's not the end of the sentence. Say it with me, people. Yes, I can be brave, even when you're afraid. In fact, only when you're afraid can you be brave. You are called to be brave, but that means you're called to be afraid first. Oh, boy. So there you go. That's the series done, right? We good? Yeah? Because I've told you how to control all the inner giants because these are the ones that really hold you back. These are the ones that make it seem impossible even when it isn't. These are the ones that make you stop even trying because you convince yourself, I can't, and you don't even know because you haven't tried yet. And all of us in here, we've all experienced that time where you were terrified of it, but you had to do it, and you went to do it, and you were, oh no, stressing about it. Oh, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Right? Sometimes the giant isn't that scary, and sometimes everything in here is. So what we've talked about so far is you can believe even when you can't see it. All of your emotions can be working for you, making you wiser, making you stronger, making you more motivated to do things that you wouldn't do. They're all brilliant, so great. Now you've controlled all the giants within, but what about the ones out there? What about when it really is that scary? What about when it really should be that scary? What about the things that really are honestly too hard to beat? So I'm going to finish this week by telling you how to face life like David faced Goliath. He knew it wasn't just his feelings that had to be brought under control. It was an enormous human who wanted to kill him. He was real, he was really there, and he was really deadly. How can you face life, the things that are really, really too difficult, with the confidence that David approached Goliath with? Do you want to know? Would you like to know? Would you like to have that confidence inside of you, no matter what? Would you like that? Say, yes, John. Okay, this side of the room is slightly louder so far. Okay, when Laura's finished her coffee, she'll be right. It's good. Right, okay. All right, so you know what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to start with the reality check that secretly sets you free. So everyone go, no, I can't. I want everyone to say, no, I can't. But not like that, because it's a good thing. Say, no, I can't. Say it with me, people. No, I can't always win. Oh, now that's a reality check, isn't it? You don't like hearing about that one. We don't like admitting that one because you're told in church all the time that we are more than conquerors. He has overcome. Right? Yeah, that's what you want to know, and that's what we always like to believe. But I've got to tell you, sorry, guys, it isn't the case. Sorry, it's not true. Some situations you won't win. And you'll never win because you're not supposed to. That's not the role that it's going to play in your life. Nope, you can't always win. But, what am I going to say? Does that screen look full to you? No, ladies and gentlemen, but that's not the end of the sentence. Say, yes, I can. Say, yes, I can. Like you mean it, Warrington. Yes, I can. Say these words with me. Yes, I can. Always overcome. Sometimes overcome. Is that what I wrote? When you feel like it, overcome. When you're having a good day, overcome. No. Right. You can always overcome even when you don't win. In fact, I'm going to go a little further. You can only overcome when you don't win. You can't overcome victory, can you? But you can overcome defeat. So if you want to be overcomers, guess what? You've got to get used to the fact that no, you actually can't always win. So we're going to talk about what can you do when you can't defeat a situation. Which, again, you're going to have to unscrew your brain a little bit because I know you've been programmed, especially been brought up in a church, to think that you will always win over everything. God will give me all the victories. Yeah, okay, that's great. But how's that working out for you? So let's talk about how you can defeat every situation, even when you can't defeat every situation. And we're going to ask the man of the moment. Who are we going to talk to? Whose story we're going to look at? Obviously, it's the person we've been looking at for 3 weeks. We're going to talk about Goliath. No, David, obviously, right? Okay, so let's talk about David. All right, so let's talk about this absolute superstar of a man. Right, let me just put it into context, just how much of an utter legend this guy is, okay? So when Jesus was riding into Jerusalem, and they were all waving palm trees, which is really inconvenient for us in this country, because how are we supposed to celebrate, like oak leaves or something? You know, it doesn't really, where's the palm leaves at? But anyway, right, so they're waving all the palm leaves, and they're shouting, Hosanna! Hosanna to the son of Joseph, right? No, Hosanna to the son of David, right? They could have chosen any kind of people, but no, Hosanna to the son of David. Where was Jesus born? We sing a hymn about it, right? Once in royal David City. David City, there you go. Now, none of the other cities have a Bible superstar named after them, right? You know what I mean? It was David City. And then, of course, there's the fact that the Israeli flag, to this day, nigh on 3,000 years later, features the Star of Moses, right? Oh, no, wait, no. Star of Elisha. No. Star of Noah. No. You got all these amazing superstars, these heroes of the faith throughout the Old Testament, but only one of them is the symbol of the nation to this day. That's how much of a big deal David was. Good grief, guys. Killing a giant was just the prelude. That's just the prequel. You know, that's just the Hobbit before the Lord of the Rings, right? And if you're laughing at that, you're awesome. If you don't get it, your life sucks. You need to do better, okay? Right. But anyway, right. But folks, here's the thing. David was an absolute legend then and now. His life is so full of amazing victories, but I got some truth for you, folks. David fell down a lot. I mean, boy, you look at the story of this guy, and you might be tempted to think that he maybe fell down more than he got up. He lost more than he won. If you read the Psalms, right? A lot of the Psalms are written by David, and most of the Psalms can be boiled down to him going, ah! Right? Go read him. He's like the emo king, I used to call him. He's so emotional, but he wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's really good because it makes me feel so much better to think that I'm not the only one who feels like this sometimes, right? And so many of the times he's writing these songs about, God, what am I going to do? This is the guy who's already killed a giant, right? And he's like, God, what am I going to do? My life is falling apart. It's terrible. This guy, he was hunted for his life before becoming king, because the last king didn't want him to become king, right? So he's living in exile, he's living in banishment. He got caught cheating with a woman whose husband he had sent to die so that he could cheat. And then he writes this whole psalm just begging for forgiveness for the terrible thing that he did. And I love the line that he says. He's like, against you and you only have I sinned. Wonderful. He's basically raped a woman after sending her husband to die. And Uriah's up in heaven is like, dude, what? Against you only have I sinned. And oh boy. And this is just the start of it. This is just David. This is before we even get to his kids. Oh boy, what a nightmare family, right? We don't tell these stories in Sunday school, do we? No. It's just about him dancing before the Lord and killing a giant. And you know what I mean? What God did? Good grief, Solomon was the good one. Right? Solomon's the one that he said, yeah, I'll let you be king. And Solomon was a freak. Right, who needs 1,000 concubines? Right, what? Right, the guy, he writes the Song of Solomon, and I always used to tell the teenagers, it's basically Bible porn. It's this horny dude talking about how horny he is. 1,000 concubines. How do you even, right, what kind of man gets to 900 women that he's sleeping with on the regular, puts them all in one place so they can go and have his time with them, so that they all synchronize, and then he thinks to himself, I know what I need, I know what this world needs, I need another 100 to be having a go at. How sex-starved and perverted would you have to be? That he's the good one. You know, he's the one that David's like, yeah, I'll give you the crown, son. Like, what the? Do you know why? It's because his other sons tried to kill him. I mean, two of them tried to overthrow him and hunt him to death. Psalms that he wrote are, God, what am I going to do? My son and his army are trying to kill me, right? I mean, I'm worried about being a dad, but I know I'm not going to be that bad, right? Like, I mean, and this isn't it. I mean, one of his sons raped his daughter. One of them, trying to overthrow him, slept with all his women. No, Daddy, no. I mean, come on. There's only so many ways you want someone to say, you take after your dad. Right? Good grief. There's a family like this on every street, and we all know it, right? And if you don't know which is that family, I got some bad news for you. David fell down a lot. Can I get an amen on that one? David, the great hero, the leader of Israel, the symbol of this nation to this day that Jesus himself gladly associated himself with, he was an absolute screw-up for so much of his life. So many things went wrong. David fell down a lot. But sometimes you got to fall down to get back up. But sometimes it's got to hurt. And if there's one thing David can teach us, it's that failure is a better teacher than success. I guarantee Michael Fish became a better weatherman after giving that forecast. He's had 35 years to live with saying those words, and YouTube will not let him forget. Trust me, it's where I got that from. I bet he checks twice before he delivers any forecasts now, right? Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job delivering on TV. Colonel Sanders was turned down by 1,000 restaurants before opening his own. Steve Jobs was fired by his own employees. And they were right to do it because he was leading the company in the wrong direction. But he went out and he learned some lessons because failure was a good teacher. They ended up begging him to come back. And he turned a company that was facing bankruptcy to one that was literally not just the richest in the world. It could buy Google for cash. That's what he did after failing and falling down. Yeah. Failure is a better teacher than success. And you already know that, right? Which is why you should be celebrating that, no, I can't always win. Because that means, no, I'm going to learn some lessons. No, I'm going to get stronger. No, I'm going to learn lessons that I wish I hadn't had to learn. Because we all know that our funniest stories were not funny at the time, right? Truth. No, I can't always win. But that's not the end of the sentence. Come on, people. Some giants, they're not there to be beaten. Some are there to beat you. And you are the better for it. So even though you can't always win, say it with me. Yes, I can always overcome. Winning and overcoming are two different things. Losing can be a means of overcoming. It can be the necessary catalyst to overcoming. It was to David many times. I guarantee he missed an awful lot of lions and tigers and bears, oh my, with his sling before he was big enough to kill a giant. I guarantee he missed a bunch of times and had to run for his life. That's why he was that good. This was not the first time he picked up that sling. He killed a giant because lots of other things had almost killed him. He didn't always win, and that is why he overcame. Are you feeling it? Are you getting it? Because I know it's counterintuitive to say this, but no, you can't always win, but you can always overcome. Eventually. And that's the one, isn't it? That's the problem, right? Because your victory doesn't come today, even if you understand this. Even if you know this is the way it is, it's still not happening. Why? And how are you supposed to know? Because it's like, right, sometimes you're losing and you're doing terribly because you've got to lose this battle to win the bigger war. You know, sometimes you've got to fall down today to get back up tomorrow to be stronger and better and wiser and etc. But sometimes you're losing at this because you just suck and you shouldn't really be trying and you should try something else, right? Sometimes you just got to reroute and you just think, maybe that's not for me. Well, how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to know that losing today is okay, keep going, you'll get stronger. And it's not just, well, I'm just really rubbish at this and I need to try something else. Well, you got no choice but faith. That's it. That's the only thing. That's all you've got. Faith to believe that the next chapter will be better. Faith to believe that someone is writing your story and they know something you don't, and crucially, they've got your best interests at heart. We're good at this, Christians, right? Oh dear. We're good at this, Christians, right? In believing that your life is a story and not just a random series of events. We're good at believing this, right? Well, I'll deal with that in a second, but first let's deal with this. Blind faith is for idiots. Let's go there first, okay? Because you can believe yourself into a lot of trouble, and I know you have because I have, and I'm not that much dumber than you, right? So we can believe ourselves into a stupid situation and then call Mike in a panic, right? And then because he's the pastor, he has to come out at 2 a.m. and get you out of mischief. Right, Mike? Yeah, right, we all know it. But here's the thing. Here's what it comes down to. Faith in what? Yeah, that's the one. We can always have faith in stupid things, and it leads to a stupid result. We know this, right? And let me just say on that note that atheists suck at being atheists. Because, right, now I've got a lot of nods and yeses in the room, and maybe you've had the same conversations I have. But I speak to atheists and about what they're going through in life, and they'll be saying something like, it's for the best. What does that mean? What best? What is best? Like, right? It'll all work out. How do you know? It's meant to be. Meant to be by who? Yeah, there you go. They'll just come out with one saying after another, and it's almost as if they don't actually believe that the universe is a random series of unconnected and meaningless events. It's almost like deep down they don't actually believe that. I got news for you. Nobody does. I've had so many conversations with like really avowed atheists, and when they get down to it, they always start to say things that should be. It's like, according to what plan? You're assuming there's a planner. You just don't want to say it. Atheists suck at being atheists. So yeah, faith in what? They have faith, but they've no idea what in, and often it steers them wrong. But before you think I'm letting you off the hook, folks, Christians suck at being Christians. And I'm right. We are great at complaining when it's not going the way we thought it should, right? We're great at thinking God knows everything except this bit, right? And what you complain about always is your life is not proceeding according to your story. I got news. You're not the one writing it. We always at that point want to think, no, I must have made God angry somehow. No, God is judging me. No, God is testing me. And we'll pull out Old Faithful. We'll pull it out of the locker and go, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Before realizing that Jeremiah said that to Israel as they were being dragged away into slavery for 70 years. At that point, God says, don't worry, I got you. And we like to claim that's appropriate for, can I afford this Starbucks that I really want? Like, no, listen. Unless you're okay with God taking your life way off course of what you thought it would be, don't quote that one. Because this is saying, no matter what you see, no matter what it looks like, no matter what you hear, no matter what you're thinking, no matter what you think your story should be, I'm the one writing it, and I know something you don't. And remember, when you need reminding of this, I know the plans. I know what I'm doing, okay? And they are plans to prosper you, even though it might not look like it today. Do you need reminding of this? It's because you, like me, we suck at being Christians. In theory, we know. And when we're having a good day, we'll proclaim it to the heavens that God's in charge. But the minute it starts going wrong, what you're not realizing is it's not that it's not going according to his story, it's not going according to yours. And at that point, we're just like atheists. We want to believe that there's something out there, but it's only something that we're comfortable with, right? Yeah. We all have faith. It's just some of us, we know what our faith is in. and then we forget. My faith, and let's just remind ourselves, because we need to. And honestly, if there's one thing that church should be doing, it's reminding us who and what our faith is in. Because, I don't know about you, but there's 6 days passed since last Sunday, and I've been through some stuff. And I need to remind myself. What do you reckon? Yeah. My faith is in this guy called Jesus, who said, I don't want to do this, sort of. Who said, well, I mean, it was, let this cup pass from me. But basically he's saying, if there's another way, can we go that way? Because I really don't want to. And I'm not selling it right now. As it says in Scripture, he was sweating blood. And we talked about that last week. That is something that is so rare. It happens at moments of high, extreme tension that few people ever experience, where your stress is so high that your blood, your capillaries rupture and blood comes through your skin. You ever remember what it was called? Hematidrosis. There you go. It's a recognized medical condition. And this is where Jesus was. He wasn't saying, I don't want to do this. He was saying, I don't want to do this. He was in tears. He was inconsolable. They sent an angel. God sent an angel to stop him losing it. That's how far gone he was. He was terrified at this point. And his giant that he was facing, it was a tortured, agonizing death on a cross. And there was no way around it. You know how we know? He asked. And the answer was no. Just like the giants that you face in life, sometimes there's no way around. Sometimes you've just got to face that giant. It's not moving. And it's going to hurt every bit as much as you think it will. Whew. And that is what makes these the bravest words ever spoken. Not my will, but your will be done. And that's an inspiration to me. Is it to you? That, you know what, if he can face that and say, okay, you're writing the story. Okay, I'm not the author and I accept that. If he can say that in that situation, what situation is too great for you to be able to say the same words? And here's the thing, eventually, we all do. No matter what you believe, eventually we all say these words. Even atheists, even people who have no conception of God, they will always, always say, well, we've just got to do it. There's no alternative, I know. Listen, if you've ever taken a driving test, you know, right? You don't want to. If you ever, right, for me, it's going to the dentist, right? It's like, I've got no choice. If I could avoid this, I could. If I could think a way around it, I would. If there was any way to avoid this whatsoever, I would find it, because I'm a resourceful fella. But no, there's no way. Just got to do it. Sooner or later, you just need to submit. You just got to give in, and you just got to say, in your heart or in your mind, whether it's in words or just in the knowledge within you, you've just got to say, okay, your will be done. But if you don't believe what I believe, is it worth taking a minute to just take the chance of finding out who you're saying that to? If it's to the universe, you've no idea if it's got your best interests at heart. If it's karma, try and figure that one out. That's a nonsense. But what if you could know who you're saying it to, so that you know who's writing your story? That makes the difference, doesn't it? It's about who we have faith in. And sometimes, even Christians, we need reminding of that, because it makes all the difference. David knew. And that is what gave him the confidence to face giants. It wasn't anything else. It was knowing who he was saying those words to. Goliath was one of many giants that David faced throughout his life. He faced an awful lot. And he moaned about a lot of them. Again, go read the Psalms. Seriously, go read the worst Psalms that he writes. It's an inspiration to you. This guy was a hero and he went through that. But he came out the better for it. And here's the thing. No matter how much David is going, throughout a psalm, you go read it, he ends it with praise. He ends it, but you are my God. But you're the one that has me in your hand. So no matter how many times he fell down, no matter how many giants he faced and lost to, he remembered who was behind his victories. And even at his lowest ebb, walking through the valley of the shadow of death, he never lost faith. In his slingshot, nope. In his sword, nope. In his songwriting abilities, because man, he was good, nope. He never lost faith in his story, because David's faith was in his story. It was in who was writing it, because he knew who was writing it. He was a man after God's own heart, and that alone was his strength. He knew who was writing his story, not what, not something, not I hope, not fingers crossed. He knew the character of who was writing his story, and that is where his faith came from, so that's where his strength came from. If you want to be like David, then you've got to reconcile the fact that your faith is in your story. When it is, and you're conscious of it, you're a giant killer. But when you forget, that's when things start to go wrong, and that's when you start giving up. Because you just momentarily forgot who's writing your story, and you forgot to put your faith in it. And you start trusting in what you see. You start trusting in what the thing you're facing is telling you about yourself, because you've taken your eyes off the fact that this is chapter 1, chapter 2 is already written, you just need to get there. On your knees, on your belly, it doesn't matter. Get to chapter 2. It's already written by someone who loves you and who knows more than you. And when you can put your faith in that, you can put your faith in that person who's writing your story, because you know who he is and you know what he wants for you, and you know that his plans really are to prosper you and not to harm you, that his plans are good and his plans are for you, then you're able to say that no matter how big that giant is, your life is bigger. It doesn't matter how big it is. So even if that giant beats you, even if it knocks you down and pulverizes you and leaves you thinking there's no life left in you, it doesn't matter, because you can go on. You can get back up, which means that whatever it did to you no longer matters, and you're able to look it in the eye and you're able to say, that's not my victory, but it's coming. There's a context to this. This is the bit before the comeback. The triumphal moment needs this to happen in order for that to make sense. And we all know that some giants you overcome by beating them, and you're going to. Listen to what I've said, and you will. Some giants you overcome by surviving them, but some giants you overcome by falling to them. And in case there's any doubt in this, let's just remember that our faith is in Jesus. Jesus is our hero. Jesus is our champion. Jesus is our example. But Jesus died. We throw this line around. We always throw the first bit and the next bit together, and it's like, oh, there it is. And we kind of, oh, don't you know that Jesus died for you? It's just a sentence. No, just think about this. Jesus died. The life left him. The thing that he was terrified of killed him. It succeeded. It did what it was made to do, what it was intended to do. It did what the Romans wanted it to do, what the Pharisees wanted it to do. It did its job perfectly well. Everything Jesus was afraid of was justifiable, because that's exactly what it did. It succeeded in torturing him. It succeeded in humiliating him. And it succeeded in killing him. Jesus died. There was no outthinking it. There was no avoiding it. There was no positive mental attituding your way through it. Jesus wasn't destined to beat the cross. He was destined to die on it. But, does that screen look full to you? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say, people? Come on, Jesus died. Yes, it's true. Jesus did absolutely die. But that's not the end of the sentence. Are you feeling it in the room? Come on. Am I the only one who's excited by this? Come on, make some noise. That's not the end of the sentence. It doesn't end there. Oh, good grief. I get excited about this. Here's the thing. The cross killed him, but it never defeated him. Are you hearing this? Because this applies to you. Come on. Listen, victory was not in beating the cross. It was in overcoming the cross. Here's the thing. It did everything that it was supposed to do, and it wasn't enough. It terrified him. It wasn't enough. It tortured him. It wasn't enough. It humiliated him. It wasn't enough. It killed him dead and put him in the ground, and it still wasn't enough. He still came back. He still overcame. Jesus rose from the dead, and so can you. And this is the guy writing your story. He fell down more than you've ever fallen. He was beaten worse than you've ever been beaten. He was humiliated worse than you've ever been humiliated. He was terrified more than you've ever been terrified. He was tortured more than anything you've ever felt, and he died. Hands up if you've ever died. No? Right. He's gone further than you have, and he overcame it. And that's your example. That's your champion. That's your king, right? Come on. Yes, you're almost excited about this. I am. Boy. And here's the thing. Oh, if he rose from the dead, so can you. If he came back, so can you. You can't be beaten worse than Jesus was beaten. He was in a tomb, and he still overcame it. And that means so can you. And this is the guy writing your story. This is the guy writing your tomorrow. This is the guy writing your victory when you're still in the middle of defeat. This is the guy who knows the plans he has for you. And maybe it's going to hurt for a while. It's okay, it hurt him. Maybe it's not going to make sense for a while. That's okay. It wouldn't to me in his situation. But he still came back. He overcome it all. And if he hadn't gone down, he wouldn't have come back up. And if he hadn't gone down, neither would you. He had to fall for us all to get up. He was willing to. That's how much he wants the best ending for you, and this is who's writing your story. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling this? Come on. So, no. You were created. You weren't created to fail. You were built for success. Even in your failures. Even when you fall down. It's not the end of the story because he's the one writing it. So even when you can't see it, even when it's emotional, even when it's scary, even when you have to fall down to get there, he's still writing your story. And he still didn't create you to fail. He built you to succeed. Success is not in never failing. It's in being bigger than your failures. Because that means defeat can't defeat you. And if defeat can't defeat you, what can? Being someone who's bigger than even your failures means that there's no giant that you're not bigger than. Not one. No matter how big it is, you'll get to the other side. You're still alive, you're still going, because the one who wrote your story gave you victory. And what can it do to you after that? Nothing. I promised you how to face life like David faced Goliath. Well, it wasn't about Goliath, and it wasn't about the slingshot, and it wasn't about the Israelites. And as much as his emotions helped him, and as much as his feelings helped him, and belief helped him, and all of these things were great, these things will deal with the vast majority of things that you face in life, but not everything. David shows us that his faith was in his story, and that meant he wasn't afraid of failing. He wasn't afraid of it hurting. He would go through it and come out praising on the other side. The difference is simple. It's keeping your eyes on who's writing your story. That's it. Invincible isn't always winning. It's overcoming even your defeats, which David did again and again and again. So, no, I can't always win. And I celebrate that. I rejoice in that. I'm so happy that I can't always win, because it means that God is always writing my story and He's always growing me in ways that I don't see, in ways that I don't get yet. But it doesn't matter. I don't care if I don't get it. I don't care if it's going to hurt. I don't care if I'd rather not do it, because I know He's carrying me through. And this, no matter how much it hurts, is for my good, and He's going to make me bigger and better than even the giants that take me down. That was David's secret, and now it's yours. This was what gave David his strength. Not his situation, not what he could see, not what he could hear, not his feelings. This is it. This is the end. This is the whole thing. Folks, I hope you found some wisdom throughout all of this. But if there's one thing to come away from all of this with, it's just remember, in the hardest moments, in the lowest times, pain will come, but pain will go. To all things there is an end. All things, except faith, hope, and love. Those are His gifts to you and to me. In the worst of times, in the best of times, these three remain when everything else is gone. So if you want to be invincible, if you want to be beyond your failures, if you want to defeat so that even the biggest, scariest giant, no matter what it does to you, can't defeat you, and make sure that at the hardest times you're reminding yourself who's writing your story. And then trust Him. The more you know Him, the easier that is. Let's pray.